So, welcome back to another segment of
Accusations!
These are not accusations. This is
False accusations.
So in this case, we're gonna check out Brian Banks' case. This was a 16-year-old kid, linebacker at Long Beach Polytechnic High School in California. He had a bright future ahead of him in the NFL. He was recruited by the top colleges. For example, like USC. He had his future as an athlete ahead of him until a Jezebel, until a streetwalker came into the picture. So in the summer of 2002, Brian met a classmate, Juanetta Gibson, in a school's hallway. They were actually acquaintances from middle school. And they met at that specific place, and they exchanged a bit of saliva. No intercourse occurred. So later that day, this woman passed a note to her friends claiming that Brian Banks arred her, assaulted her at the place that they met up. Oh, by the way, she also claimed that he actually kidnapped her, that they didn't actually meet. He actually kidnapped her and then arred her. So she proceeded to tell the teachers, the police officers of what happened. That very, very nasty lie. And there was no DNA, no witnesses, but yet he was still arrested. So at the age of 17, Brian faced charges of forcible R, sodomy, and kidnapping with a potential sentence of 41 years to life. Held in juvenile detention, unable to pay the $1 million bail. During that case, the reason why Brian didn't push back, didn't fight the case, is because his lawyer warned him that apparently because he's a black guy with all white jury, they gonna look a big black dude and automatically infer that he's the aggressor in this situation. Which, FYI, that's a horrible lawyer. His mother sold her house, her car, to pay off his defense because of what this witch did. Because that witch lied. It's fabulous. Which, by the way, the conclusion to the story is going to be even more insane. So Brian spent 5 years in prison, and being in prison for 5 years without actually doing anything wrong, it can't feel too good. Meanwhile, while he was rotting in prison, Juanetta Gibson, that creature, she sued the Long Beach Unified School District that they lacked the security to ensure that she would be safe. And they won $1.5 million as a settlement. The lawsuit against the school, his conviction, the whole case, everything that has been done so far was always built upon what she said. No evidence, no witnesses, absolutely nothing to this case. Only what she said. They blatantly ignored every piece of information that went against the woman. So in 2011, while on parole and wearing an ankle monitor, Brian received a Facebook friend request from Juanetta Gibson. He didn't accept it, but asked to meet her. With a private investigator present, Gibson admitted on tape that she had fabricated the R allegations. She expressed regret, but refused to testify in court, fearing that she would have had to repay the settlement money. The 1.5 million. This bum, of course, is not going to repay the money. And it's not going to actually testify that she lied to clear this guy's name, that he can actually continue living his life, not being on a sex offender registry. So in 2012, Brian contacted the California Innocence Project. Though the video was not admissible in court without Gibson's consent, the Innocence Project, led by attorney Justin Brooks, uncovered additional evidence, including the lack of DNA and classmates' statements that Gibson admitted to lying. There was plenty of evidence to get this guy off clean. There was evidence that showed that this guy actually didn't do it. There was no evidence except her word. And I'm pretty sure a bunch of tears. Her word and a bunch of tears. That's all it took to put this guy in prison for 5 years. So in May 2012, the Los Angeles District Attorney Office reviewed the case and agreed that Brian's has been wrongfully convicted. Judge Mark C. Kim overturned his conviction, cleared his name. After decades of injustice, Brian was removed from parole and sex offender registry. So, so after this case was done, this guy actually went to play for a bunch of teams. He did a bunch of work with NFL. Also, there was a movie inspired by him in 2018 called Brian Banks, the movie, and a book as well. What Set Me Free. That's the name of the book. He became an advocate for criminal justice reform, urging changes to address wrongful convictions and overturn the plea deals. So what happened with the woman? Did she actually face any consequences? To some degree. So Juanetta Gibson was ordered to pay $2.6 million to Long Beach Unified School District, including the $1.5 million settlement and legal fees. Public records suggest that she spent the money on luxury items and was in debt, moving frequently to evade collectors. This woman is a bum, and she created this amount of damage and basically destroyed this guy's life. This guy would have been so huge. He would have been in the NFL. This guy was, as you can see, extremely talented. He was recruited by the best universities. Everybody said that he was a great student, he had a bright future, but yet this Jezebel, this absolute streetwalker, she just had to put her greasy, slimy little hands on him. The system basically fearmongered and pushed Brian to take a plea deal. Since he took the plea deal, I don't think that he can actually sue the government for what they did. If he would not have taken the plea deal, he would have went to prison most likely for the rest of his life, would never have gotten the information, and would just rotted in prison. She should have gotten the 41 years in prison. What was it? 41 to life? She should have gotten all of that. She should rot in prison for the rest of her life for doing something like that. But she didn't get no criminal charges. She did not get any criminal charges for lying and putting somebody in prison for 5 years. Remember, this is the oppressive patriarchy. This is apparently the system that puts men on top. This is my speculation, but most likely this was that woman's mother that told her to do this. Most likely that was their plan, to sue the school so that they can get the money out. Because as you can see, she spent all of that money on luxury items. Now they are running away. They're moving constantly to avoid collectors. These are bums that we're talking about here. These are trash people. And yet, she didn't get a criminal conviction. Brian did not get a single cent out of the government for the wrongful imprisonment or out of that streetwalker. Not a cent. Anyway, if you guys liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.